Everyone, and welcome back to the building aneurysm that is me looking at TexTalks BattleTech Primer to the Clans Exist Elementals Part 2. Last time around, I felt like I needed to put my fist through the screen and or microphone and or maybe a wall because of all the fuck I was feeling. You know, a completely normal reaction. And judging by the comments I've received and people warning me about, unironically, also a completely normal reaction. God damn you, Tex, could you have made this boring so it didn't hurt and feel as enraging? Yeah. So we're going to jump right back into this willing self-violation of decency and see what's up next with the clans and their high-tech degeneracy. You know what? After the last series, I didn't feel like inner sphere pride was a thing. And now I do. Yeah. So let's get started. You guys know the deal. Link below, original video. Hit it up.
By the middle of the 31st century, there were only 115 to 120,000 clan warriors across all known clans.
Wait, how many?
And 115 to 120,000 clan warriors across all known...
I'm assuming they're just talking the warrior caste and not the overall population that used to be warriors and now just inducted into the clan, because that would count for a large portion of the entire society, but I think it's also been long enough where they would have had civilians who were born as civilians and brought in as civilians. So more... You know, it's one of those things I kind of never really realized because I never paid attention to time, but how many generations has this been? Ages are kind of skewed when it comes to BattleTech because your functional age and your actual age don't match up to what we think now. Now you think... You hit 75, you ain't going to be on the front lines. Here, Kerensky, I rest my case. There's a lot of badasses who were not spring chickens and hadn't been for nearly a century. The fact that that exaggeration is closer to true than not is all I need to say right there. How the fuck did it become the clans had such a horribly restrictive age requirement when some of their most badass members and cons were kind of outside of that range? It'll probably get explained.
Clans, and only select few clans were allowed the honor to participate in the invasion itself. In fact, in preparing for the invasion, the clans believed that any more than 5 clans would be complete overkill for
Seriously?
the task of bringing the inner sphere to its knees. This, ladies and gentlemen, is called fucking hubris, comparatively.
I'm sorry. They actually thought 5 would be too much? On the one hand, yeah, no, I'm agreeing with Tex. It is complete hubris. On the other hand, I mean, they kind of weren't wrong. Hell, if it was just Wolf and then maybe a few people who actually listened to Wolf, the clan history would have been, and then the clans returned, they took over, and then they probably overextended and got killed off because there's just too few of them to actually hold anything. Seriously, that's what would have actually happened, because you can't hold ground when the other guys are kind of okay with saying, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And while at the current stage of the clan invasion, they had got back to the point where it was just fuck you, mostly, not nuke you. It's a big difference. I'm pretty sure if they had been closer to losing, it would have gone to that. Or if Fox hadn't been around and then they'd be like, you know what? Maybe we'll just go and revert back to big stupid. Again, are they at this time period? No. But do you really think someone in an ivory, or I guess bloodstained tower, like most of the people in charge of the houses are, wouldn't eventually resort to that if it wasn't a land bit they cared about? Like in one of their neighbors who they are okay with seeing nuked, as long as it doesn't kind of maybe blow over on them, which is hard through space.
In the same time period, the Lyran Commonwealth Armed Forces alone
had
that's 15 million men and women in active service, and its largely incompetent general staff was more than willing to throw people into a slaughter, as they had done for 4 succession wars up to that point. It is no small statement to make that any invasion with that disparity in numbers while obeying a strict code of conduct and military tradition which hugely limits the use of force, strategic implementation of vast arsenals, and with direct prohibitions against using overwhelming advantages on pain of honor would be an exceptionally stupid endeavor, which would be obvious to anyone who knew math.
I mean, they're the warrior cast, not the science class. Or cast. It's not even the math. It's that, okay, actually, never mind. It is exactly the math. Even if you don't go fucking nuke heavy, and that is the explicit term, and also the scientific one, fucking nuke heavy, also known as the boom option. But yeah, if you've ever played Risk, you know the best strategy there is to do a blitzkrieg. You put everyone on a single block, and then everything in front of it dies. That is what the clans were playing, and it was working. The problem with that is by the end, you spread out your army so damn much that if anyone survives, anything left is easy pickings. And the clans, even if they could take 100 to 1, would have 1,000 to 1. And goddamn, those might actually be matchups with mechs by the end, because even though it's not exactly fast, people know where Earth is, even without the HPG network, and they're willing to just say fuck it, which, I mean, as long as it's just the troops, not the actual people in charge. I'm sure the House would be fine with saying fuck it and just having people blind jump, because again, fuck the numbers. Forced Succession Wars says that even though they got better at not killing the planets, killing the people has never been an issue. Yeah, no, Tex is right. I was trying to think, no, this is completely accurate. How did they... Hubris, I'm trying to think of a way that this would explain the clans other than we think we're so powerful that they won't fight back after we win. But that's stupid. Granted, arrogant sons of bitches who took the wrong things from Nicholas. And by the wrong things, I mean anything.
I suppose that's just the opinion of an asshole. Back to the main point.
The fact that I'm agreeing with him doesn't disprove what he just said.
The wild and wonderful cast.
Contact your local... Oh, God, for more information. 3062 Department of Military. They made actual posters? I just... You know what? I've seen so many for Star League. I guess they did for Lyran, too.
Scientist cast is something of an interesting subject, as it is where I feel
we're actually covering
strength of the clan lays. For where the inner sphere was busy nuking each other into the Stone Age, and then continuing the fight with Rock's pride from the irradiated rubble like a bunch of stoned apes, the scientist cast of the clans pushed...
Really? Stoned apes? Usually would say Stone Age apes, but no, it's stoned apes. So not even that they're primitive in technology, they're also literally drugged, which, considering all the radiation, probably have a similar, if actually less detrimental effect.
Pushed ahead and built off the substantial technical and engineering knowledge inherited from the remnants of the SLDF. They took what was already the best equipment and technology humanity ever made, and they improved on it in every conceivable way.
This is one of those points where I'm going to attribute a lot of what I'm about to say to just ignorance about the setting, but at least from the outside, they had such a high basis of technology when it was Star League that even though mechs improved, and they improved greatly, they didn't really improve on the same scale of technological advancement we've been used to within even the last 100 years. Now, part of that could be they've reached bottlenecks and incremental improvements are harder, which is entirely possible and something that does happen. For example, ship design. It's kind of at a bottleneck right now where there's only so many variations you can do, and they're not so much better, those other variations, than just the standard keel hull. There's bigger, there's smaller, there's adjustments on a lot of things, but the actual ship design hasn't changed. I'm assuming that's one of the bottlenecks they ran into, because otherwise, generally, human advancement in certain areas is significantly faster within at least our human canon. Well, I'm referring to actual literal history as canon now. I'm judging myself for that one. It seems stagnant. Even when it's showing great improvements, it's... Maybe I'm just not seeing it. Maybe it's just other things. But it doesn't actually seem all that great of an improvement. It's okay, here's a gun that hits harder, but it's not like the jump in the last 100 years from, I don't know, flintlock pistols all the way up into nukes. It's more like the jump from a bow and arrow to a rapid fire bow and arrow. It's a big change, but the first one's still pretty damn comparative. It's not even close to as good, but it's still not bad. Or I guess more accurate, it's like a nuke bullet to a Gatling nuke bullet. You fucked, but you're still fucked at the smaller end. It just, it just seems like, at least based on what I've seen technologically development, it isn't crazy advanced. Although that could also just be Comstar in the Inner Sphere, but also in the clans, it's just, people say it's their genetics. I'll just take it as it's their genetics, and yeah, let's just go with that. It just doesn't feel like it, though.
From advanced eugenics programs to terrifying weapons programs, the scientist caste is solely responsible for the exodus, resulting in a net gain in technological base, instead of regressing as the Inner Sphere did. Whereas the Inner Sphere fought over scraps of functional Starly.
I'm going to contest that point just because the Inner Sphere, attributing everything about them actually progressing and not going back to the Stone Age as opposed to the Inner Sphere, I mean, yes, they probably contributed, but it's not so much a high bar as you have to really dig down to reach that low ravine to get to that. And by ravine, I mean the Marianas Trench. Any advancement makes you significantly more competent than what the Inner Sphere did to itself. So maybe not the best comparison. They could also be great on top of that. Just, I need more examples.
League equipment. The clan
if you want those examples, let me know.
Expertise improved it and made incredible technological advancements to their warfighting capabilities. The phenomenally gifted scientists of the scientist caste have not only built new warriors, but many new and exciting weapons for them to use.
Oh, okay, now this is interesting. Because what is going on here? One, if I didn't know this was BattleTech, I would have assumed this was something out of 40K. The art style, it fits some of 40K's aesthetics, but honestly, if 40K was doing this, the aesthetic would be a lot more grim derp. Things are just too clean, and the body proportions only have a few things sticking into them. So, yeah, but it almost looks like, I'm going to say two things that I know are going to offend people. The first one is healing pods in Dragon Ball Z back when that was a thing during the Frieza saga. And two, and this is kind of an odd one, it looks like something out of Dune. I'm not really sure why I'm thinking that either, because I don't actually remember where that would come in Dune. But yeah, that's such an interesting thing. Initially, I would say that this is where they get people, but unless I'm mistaken, warrior casts don't come out fully formed adults, if not mentally. Is this a healing program? What is this? It's cool looking.
From omni-mechs to power armor to advanced life support systems.
Are those mechs?
The scientist caste is, I feel, the true powerhouse of their civilization.
Oh, those are mechs, but what the hell
With
are
relatively few restrictions placed upon their scientific undertakings, clanner scientists are directly responsible for the tremendous pace of technological development
those life support devices?
in clanner society. Aside from that, there's the technician caste who maintain the fleet and equipment of the clans. Fleets, I must point out, are still largely in one piece, as they didn't waste them in wars over virtually nothing.
Yeah, it's a good thing the Inner Sphere didn't know that part right there, because if they just wiped out the technical cast, I'm sure the science cast could come up with it, but they wouldn't be as good, and I don't assume the warrior cast would be able to do it just because they wouldn't have the manpower. If there's one cast that's a linchpin, this is it. Although I'm very much showing my bias on the fact that the people who actually know how to fix things are usually the ones who are the most important.
There's also a merchant caste, which oversees the needs of clan financial interests, acquisitions, and trade.
Yeah, Ghost Bear, nice.
And a lowly laborer caste that handles virtually everything else. The survivors of the Exodus Civil War took to the caste system, being pleased enough to have safety, security, and peace after so very long.
Yeah.
After all, it was a system of order that seemingly worked.
Ooh, that is a cool image. Sorry, I just love how we're seeing that this guy's on the bridge. I thought it was just kind of a compound image before, but no. We're seeing this guy and this guy. Oh, so this is literally a holographic projection he's viewing and interacting with, including little chevrons showing the display here of who's winning. I'm assuming it's a battle contest or something. Cool.
As everything up to this point had resulted in endless cycles of destruction. But some
now they get a constant cycle of destruction.
A fixed place in society
but smaller.
As an insult. To be told that you're born to do a job, and only that job, with very little prospect of rising beyond it, no matter how you apply yourself, can make someone a bit bitter. And that's where we get into the caste that clanners don't want to admit actually exists.
Oh?
Even in an ordered society, there are people who refuse to fit in. And this brings us to the dark caste, or bandit caste.
Oh.
Officially, the bandit caste does not exist. In truth, however, this is the caste that is where all those who do not fit into clanner society end up.
I didn't realize I would have a favorite caste. And now I do.
This is a population beyond the control, or at least the authority of the clans. Those nomads in fringe society folks who really are no different than the bulk of those inhabiting the deep periphery. Resistant to organized government, society, and the laws that govern them, the bandit caste has no...
Oh my god, they've literally just re-enabled the exact socioeconomic issues that caused the rise and eventual fall of Star League within their own society, and they don't even realize it because Nicholas is a fucking idiot. They have an outcast. It's literally called bandits or outcast, and they literally are the periphery, but they're probably in society, so they're actually more embedded. I'm assuming no one in this cast would be able to hold down a stage job because they just couldn't stand it, so they wouldn't really be easily hidden. But at the same time, how is this not a bigger issue?
Aim other than to have no aim. The bandit caste are those who refuse to live in clanner society or have nowhere else to go. They reave and raid to support their own interests, and that's nearly all that's known about them.
Ooh.
Occasionally, the bandit or dark caste will raid clanner bases for supplies from water to ammunition.
Yeah, they raid, of course, it's called bandits, whatever. More importantly, the fact that text said there's not much known about, like almost everything they know about it, that is surprising for a couple reasons. One, and the first one is just, it's been a long time since the clans were revealed, and they were even planned out before that, so this is not a new development. But more surprising that after literal decades of probably either being planned or aware of it and having a name for it and having all the information to show there, like, was this just something they threw in a book to explain how they would deal with the people who just refused to conform? Or is this just something they put in and never really dealt with, but also because BattleTech kind of doesn't throw things away, they just kind of collected? Or is it something that's just not talked about, so they're actively not ever talking about it from perspectives of the main characters from the clans because, or even side characters from the clans, because it's just not something to talk about? Is it literally a cultural blindness being put into the story, or is it just because they haven't put it much out there when this is the kind of thing you think would be a massive story point? Hell, I would fully expect someone to go in the comments like, oh yeah, here's the novel where they talk from this perspective, and they don't, because, I mean, I'm assuming Tex would know about it. Because it's Tex, and everyone involved with this seems to be massive fanboys who know what they're talking about, as opposed to me, who's just like, what? I just assume there's things I don't know. So hearing there's just not information is weird.
They will take what they can before fading away. Only a few clans have managed to deal with this caste in any meaningful manner, as controlling professional outlaws is a difficult proposition.
Now that's actually interesting. I'm assuming it's hit and run tactics, so they just can't leverage superior warrior caste forces. Because, I mean, blitzkrieg might be their thing, but it's hard to blitzkrieg someone blitzkrieging you. Huh.
Some would note that the only reason a dark caste exists within a warrior society at all is the simple need to give clan warriors target practice. But considering they still exist, I posit this. The dark caste is a release valve for clanner culture, a place to put people who do not belong, but cannot be conveniently made to disappear. or suppressed by any other efficient means.
So it's literally giving a reason for the warrior caste to exist. Well, why do we need warriors? Oh, because we have a bunch of bandits. Yeah, that's exactly why. As opposed to, we're going back to the inner sphere, which not everyone was okay with it when they actually did. I could believe that, but also, if they get a few defectors and good armor, it seems like something that would just be too easily played out. It would be too hard to control a group of people who, even if you want to put them all in one place so they don't listen to you, but they listen to you somewhere else by not doing what you say, and they just make sure they don't do anything you care about because they're just not going to have access to it. Essentially, it's the reverse psychology of giving a child candy. It's like, remember, I won't give you more candy if you don't break this. And they're just sitting there going like, what? But the entire time you took them into a place where you just want to get the insurance money off something really valuable and you don't actually like the person who owns it, so you think you can get to scam them somehow. Is it a good idea? No. But also, I don't think the Klan has a lot of good ideas. I think that some of them are just fucking stupid.
But, fatefully perhaps, Nicholas Kerensky's dabbling attempts at bettering humanity did not stop with what it stood for. It did not stop with instilling virtues and honor through clever interpretations of his father's work.
Clever, yeah.
It did not stop with ordering society into castes and forcing people to adopt a certain mindset or be punished, chastised, eliminated, or cast out. For Nicholas not only wanted a better society, but better people. And rather than wait for nature to take its course, or his civilization to naturally make a better class of person as it was designed to do, he decided to use science to speed things up. It was a breakthrough back in 2816 that began the path to a better clanner. The iron womb was originally a technology principally used to keep premature babies alive.
This is one of those weird things where it's more of a, how to put it, at the time where this lore would have been thought up, the technology they're talking about is much more science fiction than it is now. We, of course, don't have it to this level, but honestly, it's not actually that far from being exactly what could be done. Not the entire growth process, but in vitro fertilization, test tube babies are a thing. Not the ones actually, like, I don't mean they're grown in test tubes. I know there's going to be someone in the comments like, well, they're not grown the entire way in test tubes. No, I get that. But the advancements in technology have made it possible to have a viable human outside of a host parent for a lot longer. And at the rate of progression, I don't think it's going to take another 1,000 years to reach this time frame when this would be likely. I would expect it within 200 years, if only because it probably isn't the real big money maker that we need to throw money at. Just throwing it out there. Not that we couldn't if we did, just why? Yeah. So this is more my issue with a lot of tech. It's dated futuristic. It's still futuristic, but it's also not as futuristic as it was when it was first envisioned. Kind of like when you read Fahrenheit 451, and they talk about the automatic teller machines. It's an ATM. They don't call it ATMs because there were no ATMs when it was written. That came after the novel. So it was futuristic at the time, but now it seems so normal. It's weird that it's not treated as normal. I'm assuming this is actually on the way to becoming that. It's just a weird little interaction just showing how things are aging.
But it was soon pressed into service to rapidly mass-produce human beings from tailored genetics. Whereas widespread adoption of the eugenics programs had been a taboo subject in the inner sphere, to Nicholas, it was a necessary step to develop the culture he so desperately wanted as quickly as he wanted it. After early successes were demonstrated, widespread use of the iron womb was implemented in 2819.
You know, I thought there was going to be some kind of crazy necessity for this. Maybe we have so little population and our greatest warriors die in battle so often, we need a way to replenish them. No, it's just crazy megalomaniacal control fetishist. Yeah, I thought it would have something to do with harsh life. Maybe there was kind of sickness, something going on. Really, we gotta come to a solution. No, he just likes being a controlling asshole. I know everyone who's a Klan fanboy, Vic, I'm looking at you, is going to be like, well, here's all the... No, I don't care. That's stupid. This is just more enforced stagnation. Sure, Nicholas gets exactly the traits he wants. But that's also stupid because you start breeding for specific traits and eventually it becomes stagnant. Now, they can fix a lot of that with their own genetics, it sounds like. But you don't have the mass variation. The mass variation gives you a lot of duds. But sometimes you'll find out, hey, good genetic trait that's really cool. And with our current technology, we can start using that to edit other people's, because it sounds like they have that technology already, or at least Canopus does, to do that, to find useful traits. And just human variation on a multi-billion level, when there are probably 1 million planets or a couple thousand, 100,000 planets. I don't know how many planets are even in the near, but it seems like a goddamn lot. With that many people, you can see so many variations. There's probably a whole slew of useful traits that these clan fuckheads would not even have the slightest clue about. I mean, the Aerosphere wouldn't either, because they just throw people away. But it's... One is ignorant blindness on the Aerosphere. Here it's selective blindness, because here's what we like, here's what it does. Now, I'm sure the reason they're going to give is, well, we know exactly what everything does, so we don't need to actually be selective, because we already know exactly what there is, so there's no need to select, because we know what we've already needed. Sure. I mean, that's not actually how genetic works, and if that was the case, then it wouldn't be possible to even care.
To rapidly breed newer generations of warriors, free of unwanted defects or shortcomings.
Like
Nicholas Kerensky would get his new warriors by factory process, churned out and made to order. By Nicholas Kerensky's own wishes, he could design a brave new world with the very best people science could provide. Over time, tailored genetics would result in a significant gulf between a clan warrior and the rest of humanity. Now, I will say that some in the clans, at least initially, had concerns over the moral or ethical or even social implications.
I'm sure those people survived having those differences. Also, it just comes down to a lot of the shit people say about this. It just seems like one of the things they said is, well, there's some people who can think faster. It's like, okay, that's cool. You got computers. You're just being lazy. Again, it's just the fetishist of the warrior that makes it so important. Which, I mean, on the Aerosphere, it would make sense because they don't have that technology. The clan does. They're just warrior fetishists because they're the people at the shop. I have so many issues with this. And I get that they're making changes to genetics, but also, all of it seems stupid. And if it was needed, I could give it a pass, but it's more just control fetish, just thinking, I want to make humanity better in exactly the way I think. And then there's the underlying problem of, he's a fucking moron. Who also is brilliant, but just, he's brilliant about being stupid. The worst kind of moron. I'm sorry, this is just pissing me off so much.
Stemming from such technology being used to breed essentially what were superior human beings genetically engineered for specific purposes. However, when these concerns were raised to Nicholas Kerensky, he silenced them, as was rapidly becoming his custom. Any clashes with his vision of a new utopia were seen as unclan-like behavior and summarily dealt with.
To be fair, of course it's unclan-like. Clan-like is whatever he wants it to be. Oh, God, I hate this fucking idiot.
Maybe it was the skewed perception that stemmed from his earlier cognitive illness, or not knowing when to leave well enough alone.
Like when he was dropped on the head as a baby and unfortunately he survived.
It was necessary to preserve his vision of the future. What he wanted was better warriors. He didn't care how, and he didn't mind crossing ethical boundaries to make it happen. After all, by his own logic, accepting the limitations of the past was to inherit the limited thinking of the old inner.
Limited thinking, my ass, you fucking moron. You're literally stagnation given form. All their advancements don't matter because they're thinking in the exact same pattern. It's literally like getting better at the thing you could already do well and nothing else. But it's also getting it better in a way that doesn't matter. I just... The more I hear about it, the more I'm surprised these people didn't kill themselves. And I think it's probably just narrative fiat, which, I mean, it is a fictional universe, but I give BattleTech a lot of credit, but goddamn is Nicholas. Part of it is my absolute hatred for this man, but also the other part of it is just he's so goddamn stupid. I'm surprised nobody was like, fuck you, and shot him in the head.
There's fear, and by his own interpretation,
pulling a Mars on him already.
That was unclan-like thinking. Those born of this technology would soon become the new warrior elite.
Uh-huh. Sure. And I'm sure people are going to say, yeah, they're also really smart. I'm like, yeah, sure they are. American fuckwads. Still, I have never been glad for a commercial break just to calm down a moment. Because while there's a lot of things I like about the clan, just this is a level of science bullshit that just annoys me. It's the same thing I feel whenever they go into Star Trek. It's like, come on! It's so stupid. It literally causes me pain. It's literal pain I'm feeling right now. It's also something they literally did in God Emperor of Dune, I think it was third novel of the original trilogy that was supposed to be the end of it, but then they decided it was selling well, so Herbert wrote more. Yeah, progressive generations get better and stronger, so the original ones can't keep up. And I'm just sitting here going, no, that's stupid then, it's stupid now.
With aptitude for combat written directly into their genetic code, these products of eugenics became known as the trueborn, engineered to be better in every possible way for the task at hand.
Oh, I'm sure they're very good at their task. Their task is just enforced useless, though.
Honorable combat.
I mean,
the warrior
when they
caste of
actually
today
engage in
is
their history, that's different.
trueborn, though it is notable that some freeborn have managed to actually land places of influence within the warrior caste by being either supremely talented or just batshit crazy.
Now, that last part I'm actually surprised about. The fact that Freeborn are even given the chance to do that. Also, if I didn't know this was BattleTech, I'd say this was either Judge Dredd or a Thunder Warrior from 40K. Yeah. You also know exactly the time frame this was made in. Early 90s, maybe even mid-90s, but definitely an 80s-inspired aesthetic of the over-masculine muscles and muscles on top of muscles with blood veins bigger than some people's fingers. When you can out-body mass early Dragon Ball Z characters, back when Toriyama's entire idea of cool art was bigger muscles to the point where they can't actually touch their chest. When doing this became too difficult than punching through a planet.
To their credit, and I say this in all fairness, clan society doesn't officially prevent a freeborn, that is, someone born the old-fashioned way, from rising in the ranks.
Okay, not
officially. It is in many ways a very real meritocracy that justly rewards brilliance, audacity, and getting things done through enormous personal sacrifice.
I'd like to point out the irony of talking about how clan society rewards an actual meritocracy approach. And of course he's showing Wolf. Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of clans out there and they would show that, and no, that would not be the case. No, Wolf, I can believe it. They seem to have the most together of their entire act. Some of them, no. Yeah. I think I'm going to get to the point where I like the clans later, when they chill the fuck out more. But this period right now, before the clan invasion, I just... It's sometimes very difficult to take them seriously. It does break immersion, not so much because I don't think it's well written. It's cool. It's just, it's one of those, we got to build up the villain. We're going to give them a backstory that makes sense. But goddamn is it stupid. Also, fuck you, Nicholas. I chose coffee for this. Coffee. I should have chose alcohol. Maybe a mallet to the head. But no, I chose coffee because I wanted to be awake to remember this. Fuck up.
So long as the cultural rules are obeyed at every step. Though this is not always the case.
Yeah.
Prejudice of the trueborn toward those born the old-fashioned way.
Are you saying that
and their
arrogant
presumed
assholes are
arrogance
arrogant
and
assholes?
belief of total supremacy has resulted in many promising leaders being relegated to lower castes or made to disappear for daring to challenge the established order of things.
And thus we see if they hadn't actually engaged with the inner sphere, I'm pretty sure that would have eventually killed off the clans because they would have actually got rid of any outside-the-box thinking. Because they have a box they like to think in. And even though people keep telling me that they're really smart, I'm just sitting here going, they're very smart in a very particular, limited way. And it doesn't seem to go beyond that. Sometimes. If it's actually meritocracy, if people are actually allowed to grow, sure, it might work. But just what he's talking about right there, how some clans don't do that. And it's like, maybe make people disappear. Yeah, those are the ones that will die. But usually take other people down first because I'm sure they're the ones who would resort to really not so nice things. It's like, I mean, meritocracy is good up until we're not the ones in merit.
The warrior caste tends to look down on freeborns as they are born imperfect. This prejudice still exists, despite the fact their founders were freeborn. Initially, there was only one model of clan or trueborn, but with time, scientific breakthroughs allowed for further enhancements to be made, and accordingly, the Eugenics program rapidly evolved. There are three main clan phenotypes known to the inner sphere at this time. Firstly, there are the elementals. Engineered to be 2 to 2.5 meters high, they are bred for...
This is one of the few times where I will give credit to the entire eugenics thing. For the purpose elementals figure into, genetics actually do help. Some people told me the point of eugenics in mech pilots was so they could survive the higher heats and having not to go to the bathroom longer. I'm just sitting here going, if they can't figure out how to do that, it's because it's a game requirement that they're just trying to give a reason to in fiction. Because that's stupid.
Strength
elementals actually make sense because they're just bigger.
Being the very best battle-armored shock troops science can provide.
Yeah, no, these make sense.
They are near fearless walking slabs of muscle, raised and trained to fight above and beyond.
I mean, they're basically space marines, and might have actually been created around
raised
or
from
right?
childhood to be assault infantry.
I know super soldiers aren't a new thing, but they're very similar. I would really like to find out if they had similar art styles or maybe crossover artists between who did 40K stuff at this time and who did BattleTech. Or more likely, who did 40K stuff and then who stole it from and integrated it with Robotech. But I'm not going to mention that because that gets a little too close to things that I don't think a lot of players like to acknowledge. Or oddly enough now, no. Apparently I've met people who don't actually know about this stuff. Which is weird that I do.
Infantry without equal. Elementals
also, his face still look too nice.
And
this is much newer art.
Focused warriors.
Also, can I just take a second to appreciate this? Again, I just really love the elementals. They're so freaking cool. I mean, yeah, they're the classic roid rage, but also it does look cool. It's literally power armor, but also big enough that it's like a tiny mech. It's that middle ground between mech and soldier that just is so damn cool, especially when you get to the more actual scale light mechs that really aren't that huge. So it's probably not even that big a gap when they're already 2 meters tall themselves. And that's them and not the armor itself. And it's probably comparable to a tiny mech as opposed to anything else. Art's, the size of art does change a lot.
Elemental training prepares them for the brutal rigors of combat and a variety of combat situations. And they are taught that by their combined strength, anything is possible. Extensively trained to operate alongside mechs or by themselves, elementals can ride into combat dangling from a clan mech and then leap into combat to seriously complicate the situation for...
I'm just going to say, saying elementals seriously complicate something is one of the few times I'm going to disagree with Tex. They don't seriously complicate. They seriously fuck someone's day up. Because they're freaking insane and I love it. I'm not saying I'm biased and that I might be planning to bring them to a match and just destroy someone utterly. But oh yeah, it's gonna be good.
For any opposition, clad in advanced power armor, equipped with jump
Almost looks
jets,
Comic X.
and carrying enough firepower to decimate a platoon in minutes, elementals are the penultimate evolution of rapid mobility infantry doctrine, fully capable of fighting in any fathomable theater of war, from the vacuum of space to high-G worlds.
It's probably something I recognize,
Elementals
but
are a kleiner solution.
oh no,
to
I think I do
pack
recognize this one. It's
needs
just a different angle.
infantry. The inner sphere
Atlas?
knows little
No,
about
of course not.
them,
That's a skull
other
head.
than their sheer determination to jump onto any mech with mad glee and proceed to tear the pilot out of it. Packs of elementals can and will tear a mech to pieces with relative ease. These ultimate warriors are a mech pilot's worst nightmare, and a nightmare squared, as they have absolutely no fear of your equipment and absolute faith in theirs. Those
Also, the little fact that against normal troops, they're amazing shock troops because they're just so huge. They're so effective. It's like finding a tiny mech that can get in and do precision strikes still. Honestly, they make a better sense as a scout squad than anything else if they have a fast deployment method, which they do.
who underestimate their abilities fill the graveyards of many worlds. Terrifyingly enough, Innersphere Mechwarriors have found elemental power armor to be fully capable of taking enormous damage.
Oh?
Reports from the front of the clan invasion mention elemental power armor taking multiple hits from mech-scale weapons. The sheer resilience in the face of overwhelming odds and the terror tactics elementals often employ led many Innersphere mech pilots to initially think they were fighting aliens. But if we're going to compare clanners to aliens, I have to bring these things up.
Tex, what you talking about? I mean, I know this is the Aircast. I'm pretty sure it's the Aircast. And yeah, I know it looks like a gray alien. But, really? There's a time that that was aliens? Considering there's canonically no aliens in BattleTech, and I've been told a few instances otherwise were a dream and or shut up, don't talk about it. Exact wording I was told. Huh.
These are clanner aerospace pilots.
Oh, yeah, aerospace.
Clanner elementals are one thing. They're just big, strong turbo infantry and expensive dates to boot. Their purpose on the battlefield is the clear evolution of infantry doctrine. The hardships of infantry combat require the engineering of a better soldier.
Okay, let's be honest. It looks like a gender-flipped Reinhardt from Overwatch, but without all the bullshittery Blizzard would normally do. It's really what it looks like.
That makes sense. But clanner aerospace pilots are something else. Averaging 1.7 meters tall and 50 kilos heavy at most.
Okay, just gonna throw that out there. I have no idea what any of those measurements mean. I'm an American. I don't do math to start with, and conversions are beyond me. So I'm assuming that's tall and not very heavy.
Distinctly enlarged craniums and eyes for enhanced perception. Clanner aerospace pilots are optimized for spaceflight. Or they got stuck on the way out of the jar. Sorry.
Yeah.
Couldn't resist.
See, that doesn't really make sense, though, because if you're relying on your eyes to see where you're shooting in a spaceship, you're too damn close. It literally does not make sense. I mean, of course, this is based on something that was coming in the 90s when they designed it and later on when it came out. Because from what I heard, they were laying the groundwork. BattleTech was laying narrative clues that this was going to be a thing. The clan invasion was coming for a very long time, starting in the 90s and then progressed to the 2000s, and it was a huge issue. And it was really well handled as far as I'm concerned. But you can tell a lot of the people there was like, what would someone in space really need? Being able to see. Bigger eyes, bigger head. But brain size and thought capacity don't actually correlate. It's why having a bigger brain and a smaller brain doesn't actually matter. It's how that space is utilized, how it's divided. Because keep in mind, most thought process is just the frontal cortex, and everything else behind that, the vast majority of the brain, is just other automatic processes. I guess they could say maybe they designed special automatic processes to do other things, but honestly, sure, science fiction, why not? Let's go with that. The eyes don't make sense, though, because if the power consumption within a ship is so bad that brighter screens or something you need to genetically design around, I didn't think they had that much scarcity. Mostly because I don't think they do. But yeah, this is probably just one of those sci-fi things where like, this is how it's done. It sounds cool. Move on. So we will, but also it's stupid. It's really stupid.
These thin, diminutive aerospace forms are designed for...
Really? They gave him a goblin helmet? They made him look goblin-esque, and they gave him a helmet with ears that looks like a goblin. They know what they did. They know what they did.
Withstanding intense G and aerospace combat, and presumably take up less room in generally cramped starship conditions. Insofar as I know, they don't do very well outside of space combat, and arguably their overall impact on the history of...
And that's the other thing. It just... If they're dogfighting, okay, maybe help. Boy. I'm thinking of this on a different scale than they're talking about. They're talking about dogfighting. They're actually talking about dogfighting. Which I guess kind of makes sense because that's where it's been shown, but it just is stupid because they have AI. Hell, they used AI in the Amara Civil War as a defense line, and it was really damn good. And they don't need to worry about breeding someone who can stand better Gs because an AI doesn't worry about it. Also, the fact that they're limited to one specific area, yeah, that seems like a massive issue. But also, I'm assuming they're just kind of throwaways that the clans don't care about because they're not the ones getting honor. They're more like the thing that they kind of need, but they don't want to talk about. Taking up space is all good and whatnot, but honestly, unless you're an elemental, people don't come big enough for that to be a huge issue. If a few pounds and maybe a foot of space is going to be a deal breaker, you're not building the ship right. You're really not.
Interstellar combat is minimal. That could be either from Kleiner doctrine not making the most of widespread aerospace forces as they'd rather good on the ground and go toe-to-toe in the squared circle, or that intersphere aerospace pilots are some of the craziest fucking people in the galaxy and will gladly test their skills against anyone. And
I just want to point out this part right here. The guy with the clear instructor, toothpick in, being an absolute crazy bastard, not even using the mask. And then there's the trainee behind them going, oh my fucking God, what's going on? Oh, fuck me. From what I've seen of instructors and pilots who have done training, this is completely accurate to some of them. Not all of them. But if they said this wasn't space and it was just normal modern day and it was just an illustration of what someone's training class was like, yeah, no, this isn't even sci-fi. This is a straight up, it will happen event. Also, the fact that he's just wearing glasses because he can. Because anyone who still needs glasses in the inner sphere is either poor, which I don't think a guy who's a cockpit and an instructor would be poor enough. So it's either something he decided to keep, or it's like, fuck it, I don't care, it looks cool. Yeah, sure, why not? More reason to fuck around with the guy behind. It's like, oh, I can't see without him. Proceeds to take them off. We're gonna fly a plane now. Actually, unironically, that would be hilarious, and I would want to do that if I could actually fly. I'm a monster. I hate to say this because it's so stupid. And for me, that's saying something right off the bat because I say a lot of stupid shit. But I want to see if anyone knows about a story where a crazy-ass pilot from the inner sphere challenged a clan pilot to a battle. In person, on the ground, with fisticuffs. Because, goddamn, that is so one-sided. It's the one time I was like, suck on this, trueborn. And then just proceed to demolish them by being able to stand on your own legs. It's the obvious catch of, well, you didn't fucking think of that one. It's stupid. It would never happen. Because I'm assuming if they're close enough to see each other, they've already tried to murder each other. Because seriously, if you're close enough to see your opponent in space, you fucked up. If your opponent gets close enough, you can see them in space when you don't have obstructions. And they're not dead. It's because you let them. Missiles are a thing. And missiles can accelerate anything a human can accelerate and survive And they die. That's just it. You're fucked. If it's a homing missile, you're dead. Unless you have chaff and a lot of other things. But speed won't help with that. Yeah, this is just the clans being, we're going to make something better. And then just doing the usual arrogant thing of thinking it's right. Arrogance does seem to be... I'm going to be on about this for hours. My wife's going to be like, is he still talking about BattleTech? And I'll be like, yes, and I'm annoyed, and we're going to keep doing it. And then I'll live on the couch for the next week until I get out of my system. And then I record another one and do it all over again. It's been a very long time on the couch. The elementals are cool. I'm going to give them that. And goddamn, are they fun to use. But there's a lot of other things I'm just sitting here going like, Nicholas was dropped on the head. And he should have been dropped harder to make it actually come out. That would have been so much nicer. Yeah. So overall, if you haven't already, there's a link below to the original video of torture that I am subjecting myself to. Hit it up, because it wouldn't be so frustrating if Tex didn't do a damn good job of showing this. So hit it up. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Adios.